I'd like to invite on stage Vladimir Davchev from HelloHungry.com. And he's going to answer more than a few questions, I'm sure, from Jonathan Keane with Tech.eu. Gentlemen?
Thanks very much for joining us today. We've a lot to get through for startup founder stories in the region. Your story is quite interesting. You've been in the food delivery business for over 10 years, but
yes,
you described about 2 years ago you did like a reset on the company as you described it. Can you tell me exactly what you meant by that reset and why it was necessary for HelloHungry?
Well, we started the food delivery marketplace in 2004 in Sofia, Bulgaria. And for the next basically 7, 8, 9 years, we are kind of one step ahead of the market, trying to constantly innovate and change the model and looking for different models how to grow because we are not growing. In this process, we never recognized the fact that there is no market and there is no e-commerce market, there is no true food delivery market. So we constantly try to create different aspects of it and try to educate the market, in the process of which we ran out of money. We had to then make the company break even. So we were cash strapped for a few years until 2012-13, when it became very obvious that e-commerce is back and that there is an opportunity to truly monetize and build on the experiences that we have experienced in the past 8, 9 years. The original model which we started with was the Deliveroo model that is today, which is to procure to work with a great network of restaurants, which you are procuring, not everyone, and to provide a delivery service from these restaurants that do not have own delivery and serve the working consumer, serve the corporate customer, and in this way grow and scale.
But then how exactly has the business changed then in the last few years as far as your business model goes?
So when we received our first seed investment in the beginning of 2014, I had to commit to 3 things to get the investment. One of them was for me to focus 200% on this business, and I've been involved in different businesses until then. This is actually the second company that we're building in Romania as well. And so I did this from day one. The second one was to become a product-focused company, and by product I do not only mean to develop our own technology and our own platform, which until then we were outsourcing, but also to truly push on really great customer service, which is much more than just the platform. And then the third one was to expand internationally. So we started traveling in the first 6 months everywhere: Serbia, Greece, Romania. Well, these were the countries that we focused on. And based on our analysis, we decided to focus on Serbia and Romania. And in this process, in Serbia, the biggest company that was a leading local food delivery marketplace was bought by another investor. So we decided to focus on Romania, and what followed was we did 3 acquisitions in about a period of 12 months, less than 12 months. The first 2 within a period of 4 months, and then the other one was after 8 months. So this was one of the ways that we tried to set foot in Romania faster and to position ourselves to be able to cover the whole country and really provide the service that we expected to provide in terms of number of restaurants, coverage, and so on.
And those acquisitions in Romania, I mean, was that a better strategy for expanding into Romania rather than trying to launch a brand new service? Can you talk us through acquiring those companies, how you found them, what that kind of process was like as far as making the deal happen, and maybe just run us through that?
Yes, to be honest, we never really had truly when we came into the Romania market, we were open to entering the market both ways, and entering that via pure starting our own operation, and we actually didn't know either acquisition targets or not. And then with time, getting to know more the industry and the local players, we got to know one of the local companies, which was the first company that started food delivery in Bucharest, similar like the Bulgarian company. And what we liked about them was the fact that they've been doing this for 6-7 years. They had a very good understanding of the business. And it's a great opportunity to be able to start with a local team that you can rely on, and you can immediately start making impact and progress. Because the first company that I started in Romania, I had to build from scratch. I started in a hotel room and hiring one country manager after another until I got to the fifth one, which was the one.
And what were the name of those Romanian companies that you acquired?
So the first one was Quickie, which was the oldest food delivery. They had their own delivery as well. The second one was Oliviera, which at this stage was the most downloaded app for food delivery. And this was a move that we thought there is more strategy in it than purely acquiring customers and restaurants, because we thought we'll be able to use the technology that we're acquiring to make all our brands work on this technology, but soon proved not to be the case for different reasons. So we didn't take a single person from this company, not because we didn't want to. In general, we are always fans of keeping the environment as much as untouched as possible and as positive as possible. But they were just a different model, and they were more of an IT company that developed a good software product. And then the third one was a completely different acquisition. It was in Constanța, where we bought the local delivery company that delivers to the best restaurants in Constanța. We were already present in Constanța through our marketplace model, where we're a generator of orders and we generate orders to restaurants. But now that we have the delivery service as well, we're able to expand the portfolio of restaurants that we serve. So we expand the offering to the customers, and we are able to control the last mile of the service, which is the delivery, which is a good thing and a bad thing as well. But at least you control it, you know where the issues are, and you constantly work on improving them until you get to the point you want to get.
And what do you mean by it's a bad thing as well? What's the challenge with kind of the final mile?
Well, in reality, in our model, because you have the marketplace, which is the e-commerce model, then we have our own IT department, we develop our own product. So you have a small software, we have 9 people. So you have a small software company which has completely different mentality and way of living and creating and so on. You have a sales marketing organization, and then you have the delivery, which is also very different business. So to try to have the three communicate, work together without interruption, because in the end of the day, they're all serving one goal, to deliver the order at the exact time it's supposed to be delivered in the way it's supposed to be delivered. So it's also it used to be a capital intensive business. When we started in Bulgaria, we bought cars, we invested in tracking software and all kinds of stuff, and these cars were literally gone in 6 months. There was nothing left of them. So we swore never to buy cars again, and we never did until 2-3 weeks ago. And we are buying cars now because we don't have enough drivers to cover all the demand. So this is just a way to expand the number of drivers you can hire based on the fact that you're providing them with a vehicle. This is number one. And number two, the infrastructure has changed. There is definitely improvement. So back in the day, 9-10 years ago, it used to be a completely different way of working. Before, we used to every single driver used to have a Palm Pilot, and we used to invest $1,500 in one Palm Pilot. Now there is nothing to invest in.
Yeah. And how many drivers do you have hired right now?
So in total between the two markets, we have more than 120 drivers. We are using third parties in 3 cities, which are not our own companies, but we work with them and control them and monitor what they do via the software that we provide them, which is a logistical software which tracks the drivers, communicates with the drivers, and so on.
I want to talk a little bit about funding as well. You mentioned you raised funding earlier. So far, how much money has HelloHungry raised?
So in the last 2 years, we've raised a little bit more than 3 million. We just closed our final round for more than 2 million, 2.2 million euros. And the reason I'm saying final is that our goal from here on is to break even with the amount of capital that we have raised until now. And it's really time for us to break even as well.
And then just on the topic of fundraising, what were maybe some of the challenges in this region for startups when they're raising money? Did you have to raise money locally, or did you look beyond for foreign investors maybe interested in investing in you? Maybe kind of talk us through how you approach raising funds.
Well, I think the most important, we've looked everywhere and we have tried to talk to everybody throughout this process, which in hindsight might have been a good strategy, may have not been the best strategy we should have gone after. But it took us a while to get the first investors in and to convince them to get in. There was a Launch Hub, a seed fund that operates out of Bulgaria but covers the region. And we were very, very lucky to have them on board because they have really pushed us throughout the process and helped us with the second and the follow-up rounds. And they have also been an institutional investor, which is funded by EIF, and we are audited by EIF, brings a lot of, I'll say, a lot of good value for the accountability of the company, and so on. So this was our first investment, and then we have always wanted to go after something big. So in our head, what was big was the big strategic investors. And in hindsight, again, we should have gone after bigger investors down the road or strategic investors down the road, for the mere fact that throughout this whole process, when you're fundraising and when you're small, you're trying always to sell the future and how great it's going to be and how big you're going to be, how you're going to be the only one and how you're going to dominate and so on. And investors know that this is, they want to see proof of concept. So because they want to see this proof of concept, proof of concept, obviously you have to sacrifice something to raise the money. Well, if we stayed, although we raised money locally as well, but if we focused only on raising money locally, and focusing more on the product development and the service development and growing the business, and then went to the strategic investors, for example, now or from this moment on, as we're now much big, we have grown for the last 2 years, we have grown more than 10 times. So I think that it's, in general, it's good to stay local. If your business allows it, if you need a bigger investment, it gets harder to raise money locally. But there is plenty of money that you can raise for startups now for all kinds of ideas and early stage companies. And I think it's a very good environment for this because just everything is happening. There are a lot of opportunities. I heard the previous speaker, someone was asking London, USA versus here. Of course, these markets are more developed and let's say they generate more ideas. But what is an idea if it's not executed? So you actually have to prove to your investors that you can execute the idea, and this is when you're really starting to get a good line of investors behind you. But after Launch Hub, it was angel investors that helped us, because when we started talking to strategic investors, they said, you're too small. I said, yes, but I'm going to buy this company, and that's how we're going to double our size. And this is how we got our strategic investor in, and we bought the company without having the money. But then when we started that, we saw that we'd be able to buy the company. We went back to the angel investors and said, hey, if we buy this company, we'll get the strategic investor. And that's how we actually put the deal together. So this means that you're pretty much 100% focused on this, and the business kind of takes second place. So it's good to do it we have kind of been doing this all the time because we always raise and then we see another opportunity and we raise again. So now we raise more money with the idea and the strategy to become profitable, and then we'll consider our options.
And currently, I mean, how many websites or services are you operating now in Romania and Bulgaria? And I believe you also have
in both markets. It's one brand per market. In Bulgaria, it's BG Menu, which is the old brand that existed from before, and in Romania, from the 3 brands, we chose to stay with Oliviera. And we have closed the other brands, and we have migrated the platforms to the Oliviera platform. The market is it's good to focus on one brand. The market is not that big not to have two brands, so you can serve, for example, two different niches or two different types of services. And as we have become more focused on developing the marketplace, we have become a lot more successful.
And are you considering other countries for launching services in, or perhaps even looking at acquisitions to enter that market?
We are looking at, there are two things we are looking at. We are looking at some neighboring countries which are still not developed, or they don't have a global player that is working in these markets or is planning to enter these markets anytime soon. And then the bigger question is how to do it, because right now we are truly focused on Bulgaria and Romania, because these markets are in early stage for the food delivery industry, and the market is completely open, and not in Bulgaria anymore. In Bulgaria, we are the clear leader, but in Romania, the market is still big, is geographically is much bigger than Bulgaria, so still there are a lot of opportunities. And in our business, you don't look that much in countries, you look at cities. For example, if you want to enter Macedonia, you're not entering Macedonia, you're entering Skopje. And because there is 60, 70, 80% of the business. But what is interesting is there are these alliances that are starting to form that are covering smaller markets, trying to replicate the bigger alliances in the more developed markets, or partnerships or merge companies and so on. So there are interesting opportunities for companies like ours and similar like ours that are developing regionally and are being successful according to different factors and indicators.
And with that in mind, then I want to ask a little bit about your competition. You mentioned Romania is kind of still developing. Mm-hmm. So, who are your main competitors in Romania and as well as Bulgaria?
So, for us, we always had big discussion on the issue: what is competition for us, and who is our competitor. And the fact is that we have three different main competitive, let's say, competition channels. Because for us, the main competitor, what we have singly focused on, is the phone. And people that are ordering on the phone directly to the restaurant, we view this as our biggest competition, and this is where most of our efforts go. The second competition are our partners. In every single restaurant who has their own delivery, has a brand, has deliveries. This is another competition, because today in Bucharest there are 50,000 deliveries, and out of these everybody's competing for these 50,000 deliveries. And then there are other marketplaces, but the fact is that the marketplaces at this stage, including us, take a relatively small percent of the business. We are not more than 10 to 15% of the food delivery business.
But are there any other similar services to yours that are going out to restaurants and saying we can offer a better service for delivery?
Yeah.
I mean, how are you taking on that challenge as the market grows?
There are other marketplaces, but we're not really focused on any of them and what they do, and we never say how we're going to deal with them, because the pie is too big and it's too much, and it's not developed at all. So for us, it's much more important to focus on the customer and how to serve the customer better, what this means, rather than looking at what the competition is doing. But the fact is that we have the biggest network of restaurants. We offer where we have decided to differentiate is to have the biggest network of restaurants, to develop, in the process of developing our own platform and technology, to develop not only a website and an application, but to develop a comprehensive food delivery technological or digital ecosystem, which we're now starting to license, and some of the best brands in Romania now work on our back end with their own white label solution on the front end. For example, Jerry's Pizza, Jerry's app is maintained by Oliveira. It is their app. They control the customer base. They decide what to do with it, but it runs on our platform. So we have the call center solution. We have the logistics solution. We have the CRM solution. So this is all. And we are looking now to add, we integrated with all the third-party providers you can think of in terms of payment providers, communication providers, processing providers. So this whole thing is in the process of being packaged and delivered as a technological solution to either other marketplaces in other markets. So this is also a way to think how to enter the market, how to enter other markets. So for example, in Albania, we licensed our technology to a local player with the idea to see how they deal, how is the market, and then if they're doing well, we would consider investing in them down the road. For right now, the project is not taking off too fast.
It's not taking off in Albania. Why do you think that is?
Because every idea is about the execution, and to execute this idea, you need to have a big network of restaurants. So you need to work a lot to get all these restaurants on board. You need to constantly be innovating and trying to develop different, more effective marketing communication channels and vehicles in order to explain better the value of this product to the consumer. Because the fact is, the market is still being educated on the value of this service, and it's just starting to pay for the value of this service. Now, for example, nobody wants to pay for food delivery. The restaurant doesn't want to pay delivery companies or companies like us for the food delivery. The consumer wants free delivery. So who is paying for the free delivery? And until now, one of our marketing tactics has been to subsidize this delivery charge. But now we're working much more on educating the customer, who now knows very well how much this delivery would cost if it had to be paid.
And I want to kind of move on a little bit to talent. And first of all, how big is your team at HelloHungry?
So we're about 15 people in Romania and 25 people in Bulgaria. So 40 people altogether. This excludes the drivers in the call center.
And then as far as developing the platform, what were your kind of maybe hurdles for finding talent? Was there ever a kind of talent shortages, or what? I'm kind of interested in that kind of, as far as developing the platform, what challenges were there?
I think in both markets, if you say to anybody, hey, do you know any developers? I'm looking for a developer. People start, everybody's laughing at you because it's really, really hard to get to good people. And there are not too many people that everybody's working, everybody's employed. Virtually, there is no unemployment. So for sure, there is shortage. For sure, there is a drain brain because people keep immigrating and moving or staying here, but working only for foreign companies. So for sure it's very challenging, but like all the challenging things, it's about execution and it's an opportunity, because if you manage to put the team together, then you have something which is very hard for everybody else to replicate. For us, it has been a really difficult process to develop our own team, because not only we have the challenge of the whole macro, of the whole situation on the labor market, but also we're not the typical software company. So, in which usually attracts the most of the developers. We are a business which is looking not only for developers that just code, but we are looking also for developers that want to work with everybody else in the company to understand the business and to move it forward. Because we don't just need people that code; we need people that also understand what we're trying to achieve, which I think has been a huge challenge. But after 2 years, we've made progress. We lose some people, we gain people, but the core is growing bigger and bigger, and the platform is improving. The KPIs year over year are between 300 to 700%. Our e-commerce conversion on the website is reaching 17%. The Android app is starting to convert at 45, 47%. So this is really the best kind of result of what all this effort has delivered.
And there's been kind of a regular topic discussed over the last 2 days around a culture in your team and in your startup. You mentioned you don't just want a developer to just go and code, you want to kind of lead, help lead the company forward. So what exactly would you say is the culture at HelloHungry, and how are you kind of fostering that culture among your staff?
Well, I can tell you how I would like to imagine and see the culture in the company. I'm not sure what all the employees say, but this is it's a little bit of a joke, but in the end, we are a very flat company. Everything is open, every single door, every single space. We are all together in it. Everybody has a clear responsibility of what they have to achieve, and everybody has a clear sense of what they have to achieve. At the same time, everybody has the freedom to create, push, critique, discuss, and so on. And this is a very, very, I believe, a very hard balance to achieve, which has taken us a while to achieve. It's very hard for people which come and work for us. The people that can stay are the people that can really handle responsibility, because there is not really where to hide. You cannot say someone somewhere didn't do something, and because they didn't do something, I have not done my share. Everybody is responsible for their project task, and if it's not done, they're responsible for fixing the things behind that need to be done, which can again include the management if needed, and so on. So it's a very open culture. We share. We use a lot of software and platform. We use Salesforce, Slack, whatever. We communicate all the time between the different departments, and we insist on everybody understanding what are the issues of the others. We do exchange programs where some people are drivers for a day, and then other people are salespeople for a day, so people understand better what the other needs, and it works great. Everybody that has started with us has started low bill. We are a very small team. We didn't have any cash, and as we have grown and delivered better results and increased investment in the company, we have shared the goods with everybody else.
And then, seeing as we're kind of on the story of stories from the region, I think, what would be kind of the main advice you would give to young entrepreneurs and startups that are here, as far as, all the topics we covered, from raising money to hiring? What are kind of maybe the key topics or key pieces of advice you would give?
Yeah, I think maybe like for the last 15, 20 minutes, I have kind of shared probably most of these, but if I have to point out what are the most important things, I cannot underscore and kind of highlight the fact how important it is to be focused. And my mentor is the former VP. He was my professor in the States, and he's the former VP of American Express. He cashed out at 39, and he decided he wants to be a professor. That's how we met. And when I was finishing my master's and decided to come back to Bulgaria, he told me, Vladi, just remember, if you forget everything else from me, remember one thing, and this is laser focus. And it's been now 12 years I've been back in Bulgaria, and maybe now I'm really starting to understand what this means, how much more you can get absorbed in your business, in your product, in whatever you do, and how much this focus and absorption, how much it leads to so much better, to better results. So this is one. Two is always have options. I'm a salesperson by nature. And I've done a lot of sales in my life, and I think one of the reasons I've been successful, first, I think everybody should sell. Everybody in every company should be able to sell, because to sell is not to get somebody to buy something, but is to be able to convince somebody in the righteousness or in the beauty of your idea or project or whatever it is. So if you cannot sell your own product, your own ideas, how can you convince anybody else of anything else? So it's good to be, the third thing is very good for everybody to be selling in the organization, no matter what position they have.
And earlier you mentioned you raised final round, and that your kind of aim right now is to break even. What's your timeline like for that? What's your goal for breaking even, or have you even thought?
Not more than 12 months. Next summer, June, July, we have to be at this stage. And when I say break even, I don't mean suddenly stopping to spend or to expand. I mean break even at the current rate, or even extended rate of spending.
And just considering this last talk, we were talking about exits as well. Is that anything you would ever consider, or are you focused on just growing your own business for the foreseeable future?
Well, money or exits are a result. They're not a goal. So even if you focus on having a lot of money or focus on doing an exit, what does it really mean? How do I really want to focus on an exit? You can focus on making the company more valuable. You can focus on making the company looking better on paper, let's say, but I believe that you have a good product and the company is growing and developing. It's a valuable company. There will always be someone that would want the company. So if we'll exit or not, it remains to be seen.
Okay. I'm not sure how long we got left. No.
I'm actually
Out of time? Okay. No questions, unfortunately. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time and watching us here. So if you give it up for Vladdy.
Thank you.
We can take a question, at least a question, if... Oh, there we go.
Hello. As I understand from your presentation, you control with your Riviera around 10-15% from the local delivery market. Am I correct? What means in value, how much this can represent, and which will be your revenues, let's say for 2016, like Oliviera for the Food Bucharest? Because finally we should speak about numbers, yeah?
Yes. What I can share is the gross sales of the company, which are monthly at about 300,000 euro. So this is what we generated last month, and this is what we have done last month in terms of gross sales.
So means the market should be around 3 million per month, meaning that you have 10-15%. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
The delivery market.
Yeah, delivery and takeaway. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess... Oh, no, we do have a question there. If you could hang on just for one last question.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I was wondering how much of your business is influenced by the actual application that you have, and how much is it about operations and the discussions that you have with the restaurants and the business part of the business?
If I understand correctly the question, you mean what is more important, or how important is for the business the relationship with the restaurants and the technology?
Yeah, the difference between those two bits, and which one is more important in your business?
Yeah, for us, I think the biggest challenge for us is that how to say it? The biggest challenge for us is that there are so many things that have to happen for one order to be delivered, and a big part of these things don't depend on us. So even if the platform and the technology is working great, then if you have an issue with the restaurants and the service, it doesn't help, the technology doesn't mean anything. And it's vice versa. If you want to order and the application is not working, then how you can get to the great service of the restaurant. So they're both equally important. In Romania, when we had to migrate to one technological platform, we actually lost about 40% of our customers in a period of 3 to 6 months. And now it has taken us about 6 months to get it back. Mm-hmm. So to get back to these levels which we had before. So they're both important, and I don't think they can be separated. And just regarding the previous question, I said that 10 to 15% of marketplaces have 10 to 15% of the share of the delivery market. So I'm not aware how much the other marketplaces have in terms of gross sales. So the total market is not 3 million. Our sales are 300,000, but there are other marketplaces that also generate sales. So I'm not sure.